When I was growing up, movie posters were everywhere. It was really just a sign of the times. The 90s were awesome. The economy was prosperous, kids played outside, and you would put so many posters on your wall that wallpaper became the new thing to do. It was incredible. But what happened? The heroes that we put on our wall became less and less. So this is the rise and the fall of movie posters. Now, to understand this rise and fall, we first actually need to understand where movies came from originally. So, once upon a time in 1895, there were these two brothers named the Lumiere brothers who invented a device of their own creation called the cinematograph, which was able to project films for an audience to see. And they actually premiered their first film, a 45-second movie called Workers Leaving the Lumiere Factory. And this was really a proof of concept of what was to come. And let me tell you, people liked it. But like all new things, with this new technology, how do you even get the word out? I mean, the radio wasn't even invented or patented even until 1895, and it wasn't adopted for voice messaging until 20 years later. And the internet was not invented until 1983, 100 years later. So marketing at the time really had to resort to what they had, and that was just a pen and paper. So what they did is they actually contracted artists to make these single image posters that express the artist's interpretation of the film. They then would license this canvas and idea and package it and ship it around the world. And it seemed like things were great. To do this, they even used a process called lithography, which is different than our current inkjet printers today, and it does have a number of setbacks, especially if you're trying to do it yourself. So what I'm saying is there was an increased scarcity of movie posters. Increased scarcity also leads to increased value. Now, the inherent value of these movie posters was so high, in fact, that the studios actually would request them back after the film's screening.
This is the producer. I need you to destroy every movie poster we've ever sent.
But sir, we love them. They're great. Think of the children.
What is even more incredible is that in 1917, Woodrow Wilson and his Committee of Public Information identified that 90% of all movies at the time were made on US soil, meaning that the US had a monopoly on the film entertainment industry and on the imagination of moviegoers around the world. With that monopoly, the 28th president identified that movie posters could actually be used as a product to brand the United States' image around the world. So that's exactly what we did. We started shipping USA branded movie posters to anywhere that would receive them. And this was all happening by the end of World War I. Anyone who was anyone would dress up to see these films. It was even documented that by the end of the decade, 90 million movie tickets were being sold each week. And with the US by 1930 only having a total population of 120 million people, it was clear people loved movies. And me, I also love movies. I still love movies. I want to go to the movies every week. I don't, but I want to. And with that, times were good for years. I mean, decades even. Printing techniques did advance and movies began to get bigger and bigger. And then decades later, things on this timeline began to get crazy. Technology advanced. 1963 revealed the Pantone color matching system. In 1969, Xerox invented the laser printing, which allowed for small batch printing, which again meant that the startup cost of trying something new was drastically lowered. And then the 70s came around and the computer was invented. That's the biggest advancement on this entire timeline. And what happened when the computer was invented? I mean, whoa, don't go there. More movies were invented. I mean, Spy Kids, Star Wars, King Kong, your favorite movies. Movies that we all had posters of on our walls when we were kids. It was incredible. And did I mention that in 1981, the internet was invented? And then in 1988, you have Photoshop? Now, you put those two things together, and then graphic design became its own industry. The introduction in Photoshop and graphic design really meant that wallpaper was back in style. It seems like everything was prime in position for an even more widespread adoption of movie posters. And it was for a decade or so. But with so many new amazing tools now at our fingertips, we actually had a new issue arise. Movies began to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Hollywood budgets began to skyrocket. And with bigger budgets, Hollywood executives began to notice an increase in the inherent risk of producing these new movies. Space was becoming more and more competitive. There was no longer a single summer blockbuster. There was 10, 20, and that's just in the US. With this, movie studios began to show the movie's inherent value in ways outside of the creative industry. Again, through movie posters, but movie posters now became a canvas to simply show the big name actors that were involved in the movie rather than sparking curiosity about the film. The theme of movie posters trended away from curiosity about the film's story to a wow factor of big budget name, big budget sets, and big budget explosions. The message that was trying to be conveyed to moviegoers was how expensive that movie was to produce and that it was well worth your $10 for a ticket. And it generally did succeed. It was no question that the user or film goer would at least be entertained by the experiences and the sheer scale of the movie, even if they weren't interested in the plot whatsoever. Now, with all of that being conveyed on the movie poster, actors and actresses even began placing in their contracts that they had rules that if any other actor was on the movie poster, they also needed to be on the movie poster to not be left out. All meanwhile, the creative agency that is supposed to create these curated posters are trying to blend everyone's ideas together. And the loser here more or less became the consumers, as always, of this digital media. And let's be honest, no one wants a movie poster of a crowd of actors plastered on their walls. Is this the best way for producer, director, and artists to express their work? No, probably not. But the idea is to pay the bills. Now, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. But that doesn't mean that there are still some great movie posters being made today. They're just harder to find. So now I want to know what you guys think. And what did you think of this video? Thumbs up if you liked it, or message me if you hated it. But if you are going to message me, I want you to make it personal. So with that, peace. See you down below.